Hey everyone, first things first, you may be looking at the timeline of this video and thinking, what on earth, this can't be right. It is right, but it's worth it, I promise. You may just have to take it in a couple of chunks, maybe come back to it this weekend or something if you can't make it through it all right now. Super quick setup from me today. As we were flipping through our weekend archives looking for content that could be included in our best of Trinity weekends this summer, the list that we compiled of content was longer than what we could include on the weekends. And so I'm taking one of those elements and I'm using it for today's daily. You may remember from last spring, our Sing a Little Louder series. There was an opportunity for some of us musicians, worship leaders, to share a bit of our stories and just how music played a role in certain seasons of our life. And so I'm going to throw to that in just a second. But as we watch it, let me encourage you to think about three things today. One, everyone has a story that's still being written. Two, God is doing something in each of us, yes, even today. And three, He wants us to know His presence, His peace, and His strength today. Maybe that's through a song, or maybe that's in another way. So I hope that sharing these stories encourages and strengthens your heart today.
Lord of all creation, of water, earth, and sky, the heavens are your tabernacle. Glory to the Lord on high, God of wonders beyond our galaxy. You are holy, holy. The universe declares your majesty. You are holy, holy. You are holy, holy.
So, Mark, as we were emailing back and forth a bit this week, you shared that this was a song that played a significant role in a really challenging season of your life. Would you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, 11 and a half years ago, I met with my doctor and she said, "You have cancer." And in that sentence, my life changed. The best way I can describe it is like driving up the Okanagan Connector and coming around a corner and hitting a wall of fog. It just, in an instant, the lights went really dim and there were no road lines to guide me. From the shock of getting that diagnosis to starting treatment and the damage it does to you, that led to a lot of painkillers and malnutrition. That whole year for me is just very, very hazy. I have little memory of anything happening that year, but one thing I do remember is this song. It's a celebration of God's creation, us, the universe, everything God has done, and it said to me that His plan was good and things were going to work out. Yeah.
I can't imagine just in those moments how hard that season was. And there's a line in that song that really stood out to you.
Yeah, well, two lines actually, the way the song's written. It was, "As I stumble into darkness, I will celebrate the light." And I take it as a privilege to be up here and worshiping, and for me, it's just a pure celebration.
Yeah, there's something about those words as you describe them. They're not just lyrics or words. They were really a lifeline for you, it sounds like, in that season. And yet you're right, when you're up here, you are one of the most celebratory guitar players that I and probably we have ever seen. And how did going through that season, how did that shape the way that you worship joyfully?
At that season in my life, I was totally focused on my career to the detriment of everything else in my life. And that was kind of God's way of putting the brakes on and saying, you need to change your priorities a little bit, Mark. So, yeah, I'd like to think I did. And I just love being here. it's a celebration just to be here.
Yeah, and you celebrate every time that you have your guitar in your hands.
I like to think I do, and there will come a time, maybe 40 years from now, where you will need to push me on stage in a wheelchair, and I'll still have a guitar, and I'll still be celebrating.
That's awesome.
I raise a hallelujah with everything inside of me. I raise a hallelujah. I will watch the darkness flee. I raise a hallelujah in the middle of the mystery. I raise a hallelujah. Fear you lost your hold on me. I'm gonna sing in the middle of the storm. Louder and louder, you're gonna hear my praises roar. Up from the ashes, hope will arise. Death is defeated, the King is alive.
We're excited already. We're going to sing that one later. And as we talk about joy this week, as we sing and in our worship, Kiko, hi.
Yes, hi.
If I was going to use a person to define joy, it would be you. Exactly. The way that you smile, the way that you play keys, the way that you engage with people. You are a tiny person and you are full of so much joy. And yet, this song is become a bit of an anthem in your life lately.
True,
Can you
yeah.
tell us what it is about this song that's been hitting home for you?
Absolutely. So I brought my cheat sheet with me because for a while now, I've just been on a continual journey with depression and anxiety. And in the midst of that, there are 4 things that I do to combat it. And one of them is to engage in music that points upwards. And this song is like my newest jam. It's on repeat everywhere I go. because of its declarative, unapologetic victory that's spoken over my current struggle. That's awesome. So in singing words like, I raise a hallelujah, I will watch the darkness flee. You know, I'm gonna sing in the middle of the storm, you're choosing to. Up from the ashes, hope will arise. Those are powerful words. And I'm declaring that in my current battle, it's already been won by Jesus. And he's the one that gives me true joy, hope, and confidence. And that's not attached to any particular circumstance or emotion.
Yeah. I know as you share that part of your story, it's a vulnerable thing to share, and yet there are others of us in the room that identify because we're in a similar place, have been, will be.
Yeah.
And there, like you said, is something so powerful about declaring those truths of who God is and of what he's done and of who we are in him.
Absolutely.
And so in the midst of that journey, that ongoing journey you're in with depression and anxiety, how does that impact the way that you sing, the way that you play, the way that you worship?
Right. So it's like a daily choice, like a spiritual exercise to me, choosing to give praise to God in the mystery and in the darkest of times. It's a shift that's helping me change from a circumstantial worshiper to a permanent full-time worshiper. And that's huge, right? It redirects my focus from inward to upward. And I really resonate with that old saying, the joy of the Lord is my strength. That's so true, because that's where it's found. You know, knowing the true joy is found in Jesus alone and not in my circumstances. And out of my brokenness and imperfection, I choose to worship God. So, you know, when I have no strength left, there are times like that. Or when I'm trying so hard to let light into my heart, but all I can see is darkness. Or when I don't want to face tomorrow, that's actually a perfect time to worship God, because it shifts my attention from the immediate to the God who is good all the time.
And on that day when my strength is failing, the end draws near and my time has come, still my soul will sing your praise unending. 10,000 years and then forevermore. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship his holy name. Sing like never before. Oh my soul, I worship your holy name. Lord, I worship your holy name. Lord, I worship your holy name.
So we both have a connection to this story. But Andrew, can you tell us how this song plays a role in your story?
Yeah, 6 years ago, this song, it gained a whole new level of meaning in my life. My dad was in his final stretch after a long journey with cancer. And I watched as he lived by and died by the truths in this song. That amidst failing strength, he had a peace because he knew that soon he was going to be in the presence of God with no more pain, with no more suffering. And you could see very clearly that the words of this song resonated deep with his soul right up until his last day, when we sat around his bed and sang the words of this song over him. And well, he may not have had the strength to sing those words on that day. I know that on the next day, when he passed away, he found a new strength. In fact, he found the ultimate strength and an ability to sing like he had never sung before, because he was in the presence of God. And I don't believe he's stopped singing ever since.
I believe that fully. And Andrew, obviously knowing you and being married to you in that season, you are and were a worship leader. And so you would get up on a weekend like this and lead others in worship. While you were journeying alongside your dad and your family in that, how did that experience change your perspective or the way that you sing and worship?
Yeah, ever since that time, I have not been able to enter into a musical worship context without being reminded that what's happening here on earth is just tapping into what is already happening in heaven. That even if what's immediately in front of me might feel like the end, I know that it's really just the beginning. And for that reason, as Kiko was talking about, for me, it's been this continual journey of learning how to choose to worship. Because I know that in that choice, in that act of worship, I will experience a real, tangible joy in that choice. Because for me, I know that my voice, it's joining with my dad's voice, which is joining with all of heaven's voice
in bringing praise and worshiping a God who is good and who loves us all the way.
Yeah, a God who loves us all the way. I love that. I love that. And you're right, when we worship, when we gather like this, it's not just this moment right now. It is as we figure out what it looks like to follow Jesus here and now, but it's this glimpse of eternity, right? This eternal perspective. And so we're going to hear the words of that song again just one more time with that eternal viewpoint.
On that day when my strength is failing, the end draws near and my time has come, still my soul will sing your praise unending. 10,000 years and then forevermore. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before. Oh my soul, I worship your holy name. Lord, I worship your holy name. Lord, I worship your holy name.